As we are getting started, I just want to acknowledge the people of the Kulin Nations, the traditional owners of the land we are gathered on today. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And I also warmly pay my respects to all Indigenous staff, students, and guests who are joining us today. So today we're really lucky to have WebProfits host this event for us, this masterclass. So we have Tammie Lee, Head of Enterprise Partnerships, and Joey Gorgis, Senior Consultant at WebProfits. So we're really lucky to have you guys on the call today, and looking forward to the content that you will deliver. We'll just wait as a few more people join the session, but I should say for everyone joining, we love to see your feedback and see your faces as we're presenting it. It makes us feel like we're actively engaging an enthusiastic crowd. So the more you can engage with us, the better, I guess, the experience for everyone will be. With that in mind, I would love to do, just to kick things off, a quick screenshot of everyone saying hi. So if I can get a few cameras on, that would be much appreciated. And then we might try it again a bit later as well. So I know we've got a few people joining us, so we'll wait a little bit longer for people to come in, but let's just do a quick screenshot. So thanks everyone for joining us, and let's say cheese. Hi everyone, awesome to see your faces. And I should also say we will be recording this. No doubt you saw the prompt to share after the session to this group and others that might have joined late or have other commitments on that are part of our community. So that said, actually I'll just go over a bit of housekeeping. So this is a masterclass that's going to be jam full of content. So we do want to engage and answer some questions along the way, but we'll use the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on that over the course of the session, and hopefully we have a bit of time to come back to those questions at the end. Just everyone a reminder to stay on mute, and as mentioned, cameras on would be awesome for us, and we are aiming to finish at 2. So without further ado, I might kick things off and hand over to Tammie and Joey. A big thank you for joining us, and I'll let them introduce themselves and WebProfits. Thank you, Tammie.
Cool. Thank you, Lloyd, for the introduction, and really grateful to all of you guys for spending some time with Joey and myself today as well. I'm just going to start sharing screen so we can kick into the thick of it. And Lloyd, let me know if there's anything I missed technically as we get started on this. But yes, thanks again, and just wanted to quickly give you guys, there we go, first technical. Yeah, quickly give you guys an overview of the agenda. There is a lot we want to cover today. And so first and foremost, with an audience like this, it's always hard for us to know what everyone's level of knowledge around digital is. So we've done our best today to cater to whatever your level might be, and obviously tie it back into where you guys are at as founders, with the generator doing the validator course and potentially other courses. And secondly as well, Joey and I have our specializations, but we do great work because we're part of a fantastic team. And so we're going to do our best to answer questions for you guys today. But if there's anything that we can't answer today, we're more than happy to be contacted afterwards. Feel free to reach out to us, and then we'll help find answers for your questions if we can. So we're going to go through quickly an introduction to the digital landscape, looking at who is your audience and where to find them, talking through what the marketing funnel or the buyer journey looks like, and then stepping briefly into how you then start to take some of this stuff to build your own strategy. And so we're also going to finish off with some tools and resources. This deck will be shared with you guys as well. And so you'll be able to jump onto those after today, and then hopefully find some great information to take you guys forward on your journey. And so briefly, WebProfits, this is our purpose. And it's about leading the way people and businesses grow through digital. And so what that means is that we've had the fortune of working with really large companies who, like, LJ Hooker, or with Logitech globally, who are established but on a growth journey. But on the flip side, we work with a lot of startups and new companies that are trying to disrupt. Or myself personally, I work with a lot of equity crowdfunding companies. And so they look at how to cap raise for new startup ideas. And so we run that whole gamut. And for us, the passion for us is about helping with growth. And so myself and Lloyd and Joey, as Lloyd said, I'm head of enterprise. I deal with business macro, also looking at how that financially will tie into marketing. Lloyd said Joey Gorgis, which is the right way to pronounce it, but I always pronounce it as Gorgis, and so I call him Gorgeous Joey. You're welcome to call him Gorgeous Joey as well. Joey's role is, he's a technician in terms that he's on the tools every day. He's managing some pretty large ad budgets. I don't think I'm allowed to say, but he manages some pretty large ad budgets, and he's on the tools all the time. He specializes with paid search and paid social. Our contact details are there, and Joey is cooler than me. He has his own webpage. So let me just kick into the digital landscape. So I just thought I'd start by just kind of looking at what digital marketing is. So, there's lots of definitions around what this is. And for the intents and purposes of today, I just wanted to break it down from mine and Joey's lens. So marketing has always been about you as a business getting in front of an audience at the right time and place to have some kind of influence on their purchase decision. Sometimes that is the transaction. You're getting them to buy into you straight away. But other times, influencing the decision comes way earlier. They don't know who you are. You're just trying to have some ability to get into their brain space and show them, your idea or your concept. And so what digital marketing has really kind of come up to be is that every aspect of marketing these days generally has something to do with digital. And so what is digital? Before it just used to be search engines, but now honestly, if there was a screen involved, it will fall somewhere within the digital marketing remit. And I kid you not, like it used to be just, laptop, you're searching for things. Now with programmatic marketing, with, with all of our like paid TV, there's lots of ways that people can hit you with digital marketing on your TV and in other spaces as well. And so digital is kind of all encompassing. But I just wanted to focus on the influencing at a stage of decision thought around marketing, because as you would know, with COVID, like e-commerce has shot through the roof. All of us have been forced to do a level of e-commerce, but that doesn't mean that it's all about that. Because for example, with, electronics has like grown triple-fold during the pandemic. People are buying more electronics online, but overall, most shopping decisions are done in person still. But 73% of people would research digitally before they went and purchased in person. And so, if you're an electronics company, you can just take that whole journey online. If you're not them, you still have to consider digital and non-digital as part of your strategy and your mix. So with digital now, I'm not going to go into this because this slide is crazy, but with the digital ecosystem, there's so much now, there's so many tools built around figuring out how to do digital better. There's loads of algorithms, there's loads of platforms. Just for you guys as founders, the focus will be on reach and engage. There's a lot you can do, but if you're starting at the start of your business journey, the key tools to kind of be aware of will all sit in this top part of the bubble about how do you reach people, how do you keep them interested while they're becoming a client of yours. And so there's just a lot out there. And I think you guys would have heard of things like HubSpot or Salesforce and Zendesk, etc. That's too much. Like where you guys are at with your journey, it's about bringing it back to just the key channels and how you're going to start by outreaching to people with your ideas. So on that, I was just going to have a quick overview of the Australian usage stats on some of the most popular digital platforms. And so Facebook at 17 million monthly users. And then we've got at the other end, something like Twitter, which currently only has 5.8. And recently, fairly recently, was overtaken by LinkedIn, which used to be probably the baby of this group. And obviously TikTok is an emerging platform as well. And so I didn't mention Google. I think some of you are probably going, oh, where's Google? Well, Google, is 99.9% of search engine traffic in Australia. So I didn't even bother to give them a logo, but obviously they are a super important digital marketing partner and channel. And so when you look at these numbers and you're thinking about digital marketing, I think there's a tendency for everyone to gravitate to Facebook and gravitate to Google. The good reason for that is that's because there's a really high chance that your target audience for your product are going to be using those two platforms. And so I think sometimes what we see at the start of people's digital marketing journeys is the grab for the most obvious channel where most people are. But I just wanted to, give a bit of a, consider Pinterest. For those of you who I can see faces of, can I get a show of hands who uses Pinterest in any capacity? Yeah? Yep, I saw a couple of hands go up there. So Pinterest is really interesting. They had their mandate is to bring together the ideas that inspire people to live the lives that they love. And so just from that alone, their whole entire purpose is to help people with planning big events in their life. And I stumbled across Pinterest when I got married because Pinterest is a great place for planning flower arrangements, looking at dresses and color coding and all that stuff. But people use Pinterest when they're renovating a house. You're planning your ultimate Euro trip after graduation with your mates, and you're putting in all the places that you want to see and, add to your own social platforms after your trip. But Pinterest is a planning place. It only has 300,000 users per month at the moment in Australia, which is tiny compared to the other platforms. But you've got to consider your business idea and your purpose. If you have an idea which is about helping people plan big events or ties into big stages of life, Pinterest, despite being the smallest platform, could be a really, really good digital platform for you to think about for your own marketing. I'm just going to get another show of hands if I can, because when I get on a roll, I tend to, talk really fast. So I'm going to get Lloyd and Joey and anyone else, if you want to let me know if I'm going too fast, slow me down, give me a... Okay, so just on that note, it's about who you're targeting. It's not how many, it's not how much, it's who's the most relevant to you. And so, segue, who's your audience? And so marketing relies on you knowing well who is your audience and getting good with them. I know some people here are currently doing the validator course, some have just finished, but I don't profess to know the program completely, but I know a lot of you guys are going through the process of interviewing people and trying to refine your pitch and refine your product to make sure there's really good product and market fit. And so you're already out there talking to your customer. But when marketing talks about knowing the customer, it's about knowing the customer from their lens. So right now, the research is about knowing the customer, looking at your business and looking at how you craft and customize what you offer to them. When it's marketing, know your customer, it's about being them. How well can you be them? How well can you look at it through their eyes and then come up with something that communicates to their need? And so on that, go too fast. So there's levels of getting to know your customer, right? And so if I'm selling tutus, my customers are female. But if that's all you went with, you'll be very hard challenged to come up with good marketing because it's just a bit too broad. And so I've just got a table here that kind of shows different ways we get to know your customer. And you might be asking, what's the old school radio? And so before WebProfits, I ran sales and marketing for a training company. And with some of the training we did, we looked at customer service, sales, that kind of fronting realm. And I had a trainer always say to me that nobody cares about your business and no one cares about your product. The customer is only tuned into one station, and that station is WIIFM, which is what's in it for me. So that's what they want to know. And you're never going to craft a what's in it for me message if you don't even know what they want. And so this table starts to kind of share with you, it's not exhaustive, but we've got the kind of way that you can segment customers and then the things you ask about that. So if you're going after, if you guys here have a business concept, you will be looking at firmographics. You're probably going to target people based on, for example, their industry. What is the size of their company? How much revenue are they turning over, etc. And these are ways that you get to know your customer beyond just going, I'm going after small businesses. I'm going after small business owners. This is how you start to get clearer. The other way you get clearer is companies are, of course, made of people, or maybe your business is targeted at the end consumer. And then you want to start to look at things like, oh, okay, what age group am I going after? What gender? What's their socioeconomic status? How educated are they? What type of work situation are they in? Are they married? And then you start to dig into the things that are their reality, because that's how you get to know them, right? And then the other one, going a bit deeper, is psychographics. You know, what are their lifestyle values? Are they vegan because they want to support like sustainable environmental initiatives, or you know, is their motivation financial freedom, or are they all about, are they spenders or savers? But these are all philosophies to get to know your people. Then there's geographics, which I think doesn't need explanation. And the final one here is jobs to be done. And I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. There's so much, like, this is actually it's new and it's not new. It's a different way to look at your product market fit and look at the customer kind of in one framework. So after this, if you want, I highly recommend just Googling jobs to be done, or JTBD, and you'll find lots of really great information on this. The best way to describe it is Professor Theodore Levitt, and he just basically said that nobody wants a 1/4 inch drill bit. What they want is a 1/4 inch hole. And so this is where you start to go, okay, so I've got this, you know, amazing new service targeted at working women, for example. But what does the working woman want? Why does she want it? Like, that's where the job to be done is like a philosophy that you can use to kind of reframe what your product is about. And we won't go too much into that framework here. So I do encourage you to read about it. But also WebProfits is the host and coordinator of an award-winning podcast. Sorry about the small plug, I can't help myself. But yeah, we have a podcast and we interview, it's all about growth. It's called the Growth Manifesto. And we interview people on everything about growth. So whether it's blockchain and crypto, or if they're like, you know, the CMO of LJ Hooker, everything, you know, the CMO for Alibaba, we have all of them on our podcast. This guy built a SaaS company 8 years ago, and it's now a $1 billion company. And it's basically accounting software targeted at small, medium businesses. But if you get the chance to listen to this, I think he does such a fantastic job of breaking down the job to be done, because he says very typically with B2B companies, you start to talk about features and benefits. And if you're SaaS, you're talking about, oh, you know, we've got this integration, we've got these additional features, we've brought these new packages down, you know, for these businesses. It's all very tactical. And at about minute 29, he says that, yes, all that stuff has helped make them a $1 billion SaaS company. But he said that at the end of the day, the core value that Flowcast brings is to help this, you know, accountant who runs a small, medium firm get home in time to have dinner with his kids and not get in trouble with his wife. That's the ultimate value. That's the job to be done. That's the thing that's delivered by having this amazing software that is Flowcast. And so I encourage you guys to have a look at that. I did see a question come up, but I'm so not a multitasker. So I'm going to get Lloyd to let me know if that's critical, if that's okay, Lawrence, and we can answer it now or at the end. So this is an example of, you know, me, it's a real example from a client from a few years ago, but this is the kind of profile we put together to start looking at how we do marketing. And so this is the level of kind of like know your customer that you want to get to. Where do they live? How old are they? What are they looking from a product? like yours? What would be their primary objectives, objections, sorry? And then what are their core values and beliefs that your brand and your product can tie into for that person? That makes you an obvious choice versus a competing product in the market. And so this is just one example, but it's not the only way to do profiling. Another one, I thought Uber was a good example. Who he hasn't had an Uber ride? You'll be thinking
Tammie, Tammie, this might actually answer the question. The answer is, the question is about double markets and profiling on both sides of the market. So Uber might be a good way to talk about that to answer that question. Sorry to interrupt. So the question was, startup is dealing with double-sided markets. What's the approach or best practice to understanding the demographics of the two sides?
Yeah, awesome. Okay, this is a really good question. And I'm going to partially answer it with Uber, but I'm also going to answer it by talking about Airtasker, who was another client of mine who I worked with when they listed last year. And that is, a very a well-known double-sided marketplace as well. So just with Uber, when everybody's your customer, you've got a problem. So I do... most of the time, founders have really great business ideas, but then when it comes to profiling, and it's not just founders, by the way, like I read a brief from like Coca-Cola, recently, and their audience was anyone who drinks Coke, which is obviously true, but completely not useful in terms of, acquiring more business and more customers. And so when your customer is everybody, you have to start to look at segmentation. And so, Lawrence, this is going to touch on your question, but then you start to profile. You have multiple profiles as a result of either having a product that can be for everybody or a product that has multiple audiences. And so your question also, I think, relates to if you've got a product that has a B2B audience and a B2C audience, which a lot of apps and SaaS products do. But what they did is they broke it down into, demographic, behavioral, psychographics, etc. And then you can see there that for example, for like a 25 to 65-year-old age group, one of the core benefits of using Uber is that they feel like they've succeeded. Like there's an aspirational, I just Uber, I'm cool, I'm in with the crowd, this is the thing to do. But with your younger and older people, they use Uber and their association with using Uber is, I'm struggling. Maybe the younger demographic is going, I'm struggling because I can't afford a car. I'm using Uber, not because it's cool, but because I don't have wheels. And then the older person is going, I need Uber because I can no longer take myself around anymore. It's a dependency thing, not a cool thing. And so when you start to dig deeper into your audiences, there's different motivations. And so when you really get to understand them, it lets you do the best job of giving them the most relevant reason why you're an answer to their problem. And so I did, Lawrence, work with Airtasker as well. And when you have a two-sided marketplace, you do have different demographics with different motivations. So much like this, you'll be looking at the supply side of your marketplace and the demand side of your marketplace. And you'll be doing a similar kind of profiling. It'll be for different reasons. I'm actually going to talk about Airtasker in the later slide as well. And so you do usually end up approaching the two sides of the market different with the same brand, but your proposition to each side is different. The supply side is looking for usually income or something by being on the platform. And then the demand side is looking for, services or gratification or something. And so, is my internet okay? I've just got a sign saying I've cut out.
You're all good.
No,
everyone.
You're good here, Tammie. Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. It's my internet. So you end up approaching the market with different propositions and you see your supply and demand side as two segments. And those segments can be broken down further as well. I'm going to do the technical bit. And so we wanted to actually show you then, if you know this, you start to kind of get a psychographic, a demographic on your customer. What are some of the cool tools you can use to start to go, where are they? Where are they online? I'm going to pass over to Joey to do this. I'm going to stop screen sharing and let him take the reins for a second.
Sweet, thanks, Tammie. Before I share my screen, I just thought the number one most important thing before I dig into the tools is to literally to know who your audience is, like where to hang out online, is to literally interview your ideal customer persona. Find a few people out there that you think would match your persona, and ask them these questions. Ask them, where do they scroll whilst they're on social media? Where do they get valuable content from? Nothing beats qualitative feedback. So I just want to say that. But then there's also tools that can help you go further. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. I'm not sure if some of you guys, no, all good? You can see that? Yeah, sweet, sweet. Yeah, so a lot of you may know this or not, but Google Ads has this keyword planner for you to see the demand or search volume there is already out there for your product or service. So what I'm going to do is if there's anyone that can put their hand up and just give me the business idea or what they're working on, and I'll quickly search up a few keywords for it, just so we can make it live.
So this is a keyword planner tool. So anyone who has a Gmail account can have access to this tool. So it's not something bespoke at all if you haven't seen it before. Joey, we've got mental health group support, Chinese language app as some of the suggestions for search terms.
Yeah, yeah, I can't read it. Sorry, couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with yeah, sorry, Lloyd, go ahead.
No, you go. I was just going to read them out.
Thank you. Okay, let's have a look at mental health support as an example. Okay, that is super annoying. There's some keywords that Google that does not show volumes, and it had to be this keyword today. Oh, great. Let's try Chinese language app. Okay, so with this one, you can see that on Google Ads, for an app, someone specifically searching for a Chinese language app, the search volume is not there. So that tells you something, that there's not some sort of demand on search for people looking for this specifically. So you could potentially put some budget onto Google Ads, but you're not going to get much out of it. Like, there's always going to be a cap. There's always that 10 people search volume. You're not going to win there. And that's when you start thinking, okay, then where else are they? Then you start doing research on Facebook ads, and that's when you start building content on other channels maybe. Tammie, I can see you raising your hand.
So then I just realized it might not be the protocol, but yeah, so there's nobody searching specifically for a Chinese language app. But if you've got a solution to teach people Chinese, then you might also throw into the mix there Chinese classes and different kind of alternatives, and things like Duolingo, which is like a really popular language-based app. You can start to see the search volume on them. So it comes down to your strategy, whether you would actually have an ad targeting Duolingo or not. But there are different ways to find volume. But to Joey's point, if you do this search and there's not a significant volume, like there's not, it kind of depends on the service that you have, but if there's not a big number, a sizable number, you probably don't want to be on search. I mean, Google will tell you to do it, but it won't be a very profitable exercise for you. And so if you don't see, like, search volumes, at least I would say in the thousands, I would generally be thinking about giving Google Ads a miss, because people are not actively searching for that thing.
Yeah, thanks, Tammie. And then just quickly, I wanted to go on Facebook. So another great way is to find your competitors and find out if they are running ads on Facebook. And a good way to do that is when you're on a Facebook page, you scroll down all the way, you see paid transparency. Once you press see all, you can see that if this page is running ads or not. We all know Koala, so let's have a look at their ads. And we can see all the ads they're actually running on Facebook ads. This is a good indication showing us, is there certain segments they're going for with their copy or their creative? It kind of gives you an idea if people are running ads. And if they are, then there must be some sort of audiences on there that we can target as well, if they're like our head-to-head customer. So just a quick one here. It's a great tool to see for your competitor analysis. I'm going to stop sharing and hand it back to Tammie.
I'll just add a point on that with those tools. Like, when you look at keyword tools, the whole point with Google is that people are kind of self-identifying themselves as looking, because they're typing the thing into Google. So they're obviously shopping for what you've got. But when you go on Facebook, it's all based on demographics, or you're looking at what your competitors are doing and trying to pull apart whether or not there's a fit for what you do as well. And so the function of Facebook is you're usually looking to target a group of people who have demographic or psychographic commonalities with what you've got to share. Whereas on Google, you're just literally targeting the people who said, I want this and I'm looking for this. So the two things complement each other. There's some extra questions. Oh, yep, Joey's answering them. Nice work. So I'm just going to go back to slide sharing. And yes, this is like, it's really fun. Like I find the tools really fun. I can lose hours looking at other people's ads and snooping around. So have fun with that after this. And if you have any questions, definitely ask us. But we're starting to talk to you guys about, how do you start to bring people into your business concept? And so we wanted to introduce the marketing funnel. Most of you guys have probably seen something like this. Joy and I are going to be the first to say that this is a model. It's very rarely this linear. And you'd know if you've even bought like a t-shirt, it's generally not that linear. But we're just going to quickly go through it. I'm going to let Joey just talk through the stages and how these would apply for you guys.
I thought you were sharing. Sorry.
Oh, am I sharing? I'm not sharing screen yet?
Yeah.
Oh,
no, not yet. Go ahead.
My bad.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thanks, Tammie. So first things first, please don't get confused by all the gurus out there on YouTube. They try to complicate this process so much, and it's actually really simple. It's just a visual representation of the ideal path that a customer takes to purchase. So it's just a journey from start to finish of a consumer and what happens after they purchase. So just heading to the next slide on awareness real quick. So I'm going to go step each stage of the funnel just to give a quick overview. This is usually the awareness phase. It's when a potential customer enters the funnel, when they engage with your brand, oftentimes through a website, an ad, an email, or social media. And next slide shows the
I was just going to add that, Joey, I find like the awareness stage is like, do they know you exist? Do they know they have a problem? And if they know they have a problem, do they know that there are solutions? So it's literally the what do I know phase.
Exactly.
I like to think of it like that. Cool. I jumped too far.
Spoiler alert. So the consideration stage, the potential customer now knows about your brand. You can see like it's starting to form a funnel, and that's because some people have been aware, they saw your ad, weren't interested, but then there's some people that will consider what you're saying, what you're offering. And this type of people, they usually engage with your brand in order to learn more. They may sign up for an email newsletter, follow you on social media, download guides and templates, or read product reviews in the space, maybe the competitors you're going against, and they're just considering. And then the next stage.
And now I know you're there. Why are you better stage?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then we've got the conversion funnel. Of course, it's pretty self-explanatory, but the people that have gone through the consideration stage, some of them will decide to purchase and some will not. And you've given them, this usually means you've given them relevant touch points and great information, and they've chosen to go with you, which is a great sign. It kind of validates your service or product. There's always ways and tactics to increase the amount of people going from consideration to conversion. This usually goes from offering a discount, offering a trial, or offering a discount code to their abandoned cart, or conversion rate optimization. And then on the loyalty and advocacy side, it's basically how do we continue the funnel? Like once they've converted, how do we keep them loyal? So marketing to existing customers to keep them engaged in your business. How do we retain our customers? Can we use loyalty programs and email marketing campaigns and sequences to keep them coming back? Advocacy. How do we encourage the customers that are loyal to us to go and tell people about our brand? We know they're loyal to us. We know they love our brand. How do we use that for our benefit? How do we do it? So I've usually seen companies do referral programs, for example.
I would just say as well that that's really critical. I think the scariest thing for some really big brands at the moment is that when brands get a little bit big, people actually start to not trust them. These days, like user-generated content and what customers are saying about the brand is way more powerful than, you paying, who's the celebrity, like Lady Gaga or someone to endorse your brand. People trust the users. And Joey and I and our team do a lot of work with Logitech Gaming, and that's really true in the gaming space. There's nobody you can pay. There's no celebrity you can pay that can tell a gamer what to do or what product purchases to make. It just doesn't exist. It's all driven on user-generated content. Advocacy comes at different levels, but advocacy is your strongest weapon so that you can stop spending loads of money on ad budget with the platform.
Yeah. So just wanted to bring a real life example, and you guys probably realize that logo, Bunnings. So So basically, at awareness level, I'm trying to bring this to life. So you just an example. So it's like, you know, so customer smells the Bunnings sausages after parking their car in the parking lot, right? That's the awareness stage. And then consideration would be customer realizes it's only $2, they're hungry and realize it goes to charity. Some will walk away like, I'm not hungry, it's $2 back. You know, I'm not hungry, I'm going to stay on. So the next one goes conversions. The customer completes a snack purchase with the volunteers. And then loyalty is the customer's happy, full in tummy and heart, and always buys a snack if available at Bunnings. And then advocacy is always buys one for their kids or mates, tells others how great Bunnings sausages are. So that's just a real life example to simplify this. And yeah, and in the next slide, we're just going to give 2 more examples, a business to customer example and a B2B example. And then Tammie will speak to the Aussie broadband. So Tammie, back to you.
Yeah, cool. And so this is a Victoria-based brand. So I kind of picked it with a purpose as well. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Aussie Broadband, and we've been working with them for a long time. But when we first started working with them, they were up against the big telcos, you know, like your Telstras and Optuses. They didn't have those kinds of budgets and they didn't have that level of brand awareness. And so we had that funnel. We were thinking, well, how do we build this funnel for them? And there's a really, really awesome case study. We're quite detailed with our case studies. So we will even show you things like you see here, like our email marketing maps, you know, what we did at each stage. And so when you get this deck, do click on the button, do have a full read of it. But our awareness stage was the fact that actually Aussie Broadband had better broadband speed than anyone else, but they didn't have the budgets to tell everyone about it when you're competing against Telstra and Optus. And so what we did with the awareness stage is we started to look at their audiences, and we found that the people that were the most peeved about having really slow internet are usually the people that clock off at 6 p.m. like everybody else does at work, and then they're fighting with everybody else for bandwidth. And so who gets the most annoyed by that? We looked at a segment of tech experts and gamers in particular, who are generally the most annoyed and then the most vocal on digital forums as well. And so we started running very specific campaigns. This was a Facebook campaign where we actually called it Say No to the 6 p.m. Slowdown. And we won a few awards for that. So you'll be able to, you know, Google and look at the campaign creative. But we're basically saying, say no, have congestion-free broadband. And we wanted to, so that was the consideration. You've got X, we've got this is faster. And we wanted to make it frictionless for them to convert. So we created a landing page. This took a bit of work from their product team as well, but it's a free trial where they just had to plug in 2 or 3 details and their broadband would automatically switch and they could unplug from the other one and use Aussie Broadband for free for 30 days. During that process, there was an entire email sequence based on who they were, how they entered the flow, where we just kept telling them and selling them on the difference of Aussie Broadband. And so at the end of the 30-day trial, they then converted. And the amazing thing is people started talking about, oh my God, it's so much better. I can now play this and there's no lag and like there's no buffering. And I did this the other day and I was able to stream at like 10 p.m. It was amazing. And because they were active and they got on the forums, we started creating that user-generated content on Whirlpool and on other places. People were raving about it for us, and that created the advocacy. And these guys, like, this is like publicly available. Obviously, they listed at the end of last year, but through the journey of doing things like this, they've gone from per annum. But this is they had to pick. They did not have the budget to go head to head. So it was this is another reason why you want to know exactly who you serve, especially if you can potentially serve everybody with your product. Your danger then is that you want to go too wide, and unless you've got like a amazing bottomless budget, that's never wise. And even if you do have a good budget, it's just poor return on investment. So getting to know the segment and then taking them through that funnel and creating advocacy, that's what we did with these guys. And so have a full read of the case study, because we also show you some hacks and tests that we ran, and I hope you'll get a lot from that. So WebProfits, Joey, do you want to?
Yeah, so WebProfits. So I just want to give an example of a B2B kind of example, exactly with our company. So here on the left, you see a post by WebProfits about how B2B marketers can adapt to a cookieless world. It's putting out valuable information out there. I'm just going to give like a rough example of how this actually happened with one of our clients. They actually converted this way. But here you can see the content was so valuable that I decided to send it to my boss, Tammie. Check out this video. Explains how the cookie is dying, how marketers need to rethink their approach, and how to get serious with brands when this happens. So Tammie's a key stakeholder, and she's gone and watched the video, and I've gone and watched the video. And Tammie, if you just click, yeah. So now we've dominated top of mind awareness, because if they like the video, they're going to always come back and watch all our valuable stuff, and they may not be ready to buy now, but they will be in the future. And when that day comes, 6 or months or a year later, when they decide to go with an agency or any sort of B2B service we're offering, they'll remember us because we've dominated top of mind awareness, because we've provided valuable content. And on top of that, what they'll do is they'll submit this form, right? And then after that, they'll go on a sales call. So that's how you just click. And then I've got this cheesy photo. Yeah, it's so cheesy. Yeah, so they go on the sales call and they compare us with other agencies to see who they go with. So you can see how different business to customer and business to business looks. The business to business can take a year. It can take months for someone to convert. The funnel is way longer. It's because in B2C, for example, an $80 shirt, for instance, requires a lot less hand-holding than purchasing a $20,000 business investment. So that was the purpose of this example, really, was just to show how different it could look between the two industries. And then if you, yeah, that's all for this slide.
Cool. I'll just say as well, like drawing on Joey's point about the, it's my internet.
You're good.
Okay.
Am I good now? I'm so sorry. I'm not sure. Maybe I should switch to Aussie broadband because I'm not on Aussie broadband. But I was, if you guys can hear me now, just with B2B versus B2C, maybe someone give me a wave so I know that you guys can actually see me. Yeah, thanks, Joey. Cool. So just with B2B versus B2C, the consideration point is probably the biggest point. If it's B2B, there are a lot more things to consider than if you're going to buy a $2 sausage sizzle at Bunnings. So the consideration becomes, how much does it cost? But then also, why is it better? But then what are you replacing? Because if you've got a product that's not new, you're also asking someone to get rid of the old and replace that with new. And I think it can't be understated, you know, at a personal level. We're all people of like comfort. We like our consistency. We like our routines. It's very hard to convince people to change. So as you're starting to think about your product, really think about people's objections. That will really help you with the consideration phase of the funnel. And so the difference obviously with B2C is generally it's not as involved. With B2B, you've got different stakeholders, you've got price points, you've got, you know, unpacking whatever service is currently in place across the company and re-implementing and onboarding a new service. So it gets really big for that reason. But again, if you start to know your customer and their job to be done, this becomes a lot easier to do. And so the end result is like, you know, we've looked at the digital landscape and all the available channels. We've looked at, you know, how the funnel works, how the buyer journey would ideally work. We're starting to talk a little bit about content. Content is a whole other beast. So we're not going to go into that today, but as Joey gave with some examples, as you start to go, okay, then people don't know I exist. How do I start to show them I exist? Maybe you build ebooks, maybe you build infographics, maybe you run a competition. If you're trying to convert them, maybe you have a whole host of like testimonials and review and use cases, or maybe you give them a discount, but then you start to look at the actual content tactics you run and on what platforms based on what stage these people are at. So this starts to build out the whole marketing picture for you guys. Appreciate this is an intro and we're throwing a lot at you. And so we've kind of, we've touched on a lot of parts, which actually is all about strategy. I just want to say, like when I first started like working, like I studied, you know, psychology and marketing at uni, and then I went to work. The word strategy really threw me off. Like I found it really daunting. It was like you were supposed to have this big master plan and it was going to address every problem under the sun. And I think I'm frozen again. Am I frozen again?
You're okay, Tammie. We've still got you.
I'm going to turn off my video in case that's causing any delay, okay?
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, and so we've touched on a lot of these parts about your segment, about the value proposition for them, what kind of assets or content you require, what channels you might use, but we haven't really touched on probably two of the most important parts about your strategy, and that's you got to know what your goal is. And once you know what your goal is, you've got to figure out what are the metrics to measure that goal. And so without a goal, there is no good strategy. Like it might sound like the most awesome plan. You're going to do like a flash mob, you know, in the middle of Central Station or, you know, Federation Square. And then you're going to like hand out free fairy floss to all the mothers. And then, you know, you might have like the best activation plan. But if you don't know what you're trying to get out of that strategy, then honestly, the strategy sucks. I don't care how good it sounds. And so it comes back down to you knowing your goal. You guys are at the start of a journey. It's unlikely that a lot of you guys have a goal right now of converting customers. And so, you know, like a sales goal is probably not what you're looking for. It's going to vary. And so Lawrence earlier asked about two-sided marketplaces. I really enjoyed getting to know this company. Worked with them last year after they listed on looking at how they launched into different markets. And the goal completely changes the strategy. So case in point is that these guys listed in Australia. Our first project was to look at how aggressively we could push growth in the United Kingdom and the UK. They were already there in the UK, but were a muted brand. And so we deliberately, aggressively, over 2-3 months, wanted to push as many users onto the platform as possible. Ongoing use and adoption was a different problem. Our sole goal was how do we massively vamp up the amount of users on the platform? And so that was a goal, which meant that the KPI for that goal was a volume of users at a targeted acquisition cost. That was the KPI. So anything else you did around that, you know, PR brand mentions, you know, extra likes on Facebook, that was all disregarded. It wasn't the goal. And so it doesn't matter. And so I can't drive that home enough. And then when we went to the US, the goal was different. In the US, there are tons of service marketplaces like Airtasker. And our first task was to figure out of 3 value propositions, which one would land better against 3 demographics in 3 different cities. And so we had like a 3x3x3. And what we're trying to do is to see which ad got the most clicks and which audiences then would respond to follow-up marketing the most. So it was all based on the clicks and the engagement to the ad, but there was no set conversion. No one signed up to a thing. And so the goal will completely change the strategy, which will completely change your plan. So I just wanted to do like a real example. And the melanopic eye, this is a graduating concept from the generator. And I really liked it. I think it's really relevant for me. I need to get more sleep. I'm both a parent of, you know, 2 under 5 and I work. So, but this is a really interesting concept. And if you don't know what it is, it's basically a wearable device that tracks your exposure to light, that then helps you figure out how you can optimize your sleep. Because sleep is probably the most, you know, understated key component of health, and people often forget about it. So it's a wearable device. And these guys are currently, it sounds like, doing some great things in their beta testing. But the 2023 goal is to then go to market and go and approach the consumer market. So if this was you guys, if you've just graduated, you've got your prototype and you're ready to go, and now you want to launch into the consumer market, there's a couple of things that you might have as a goal. If your manufacturing is not ready yet, you might be looking at pre-signups, like, you know, the next iPhone, you know, that giant queue. That might be your goal, is to build up the anticipation. And if that's your goal, is to get pre-registered people, then your KPI for that is email signups. Or I assume this has an app, so it might be an app download. But you're trying to get people pre-interested and pre-qualified for the product when it arrives. But if these guys have done enough testing and their product is ready, they might decide we're just going to go head to head, and we're going to go out there and we're going to try and get sales within our profit margin. And that's the sole goal. And they might decide that, you know, we'll market it as a companion device for like a Fitbit or a smartwatch. And we'll target it at, you know, working professionals who can obviously afford a companion device on top of a smartwatch. And they're going to be people who already own Fitbits. They're going to be people who already have Garmin watches. And we're going to talk about this being complementary, and that's going to be our plan. And so it really, you know, depending on the goal, it will change the strategy and it will absolutely change the plan. And I just wanted to finish up on, you know, again, strategy is a really big topic. It's a really big one. You know, it's easy to say it. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But ultimately, you know, working in digital and working with a lot of lean businesses, the formula for marketing success is just this. So try again until you succeed. So at WebProfits, we very much talk about failing fast and failing forward, because honestly, like 90% of the ideas are probably not going to work. That is not a failure. That is who's the guy that's discovered the light bulb? Edison. You know, I didn't fail. I found 1,000 ways that this didn't work. Right. And so you've got to keep that mindset, especially as founders. The marketing is going to be a big ongoing part after you've got MVP. And so you just got to embrace this ethos, I think. Yeah. So tools and resources. Joey, did you want to quickly give an intro to these?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We wanted to end the presentation on just some tools and resources you can take away. So Tammie, if you can just go to the next slide, it shows literally like all my favorite tools. You can really get you know, you can really get them on the wrong tool for a certain type of business, and I've seen it a lot with brands. So for example, we've got Klaviyo on the left. Klaviyo is honestly the best e-commerce email marketing tool, but I see some brands go with MailChimp, for example, instead, and then that just causes complications, and then the brands do this massive like digital renovation in the future because they made the wrong choice at the beginning. So these are just some favorite tools you can look at when we send a deck. And then I also added some educational resources at the end. So these channels are one of the best and where I've learned most of my stuff. Eric Andrews on the left is perfect for you guys, because this guy shows how to do financial modeling tutorials for startups. And it's so simple. You just do it with him and you can see the goals and KPIs you're going to look at. So that goes back to what Tammie said, and it shows you like a month-to-month top level, eye level view of where your business is heading and where you want to be in the next year. Then you've got the Growth Manifesto podcast, which is our podcast, of course, Australia's leading tech entrepreneurship podcast. Then we've got State of Demand Gen, which is the best B2B podcast I know, with a focus on demand and very up to date with how buyers are buying. The direct to consumer is for e-com. It's a podcast for e-commerce brands. And the next slide shows a few more YouTube channels. I love to watch videos while I'm on my break, and these here have taught me a lot. And if you want to get into Facebook ads, Dara Denny, the one on the left, is a golden nugget. She knows what she's talking about, and there's a lot of people on YouTube claiming to know what they are. They know what they're saying and all that stuff. They just want you to buy their $2,000 course. But this woman, she's great at this stuff, and yeah, I recommend her. And then the other three are also great for any other marketing related. So you can see on the text, great for PPC, the surface side PPC. Then we've got Measure School. Oh my goodness, measuring everything is so complicated nowadays. Analytics, you need a Google Tag Manager, you need all this. This guy simplifies the whole process. So he's a great resource. And David Fagati is one of the best channels on all things e-commerce. He's owned a brand called The Oodie. I'm sure some of you know it. $200 million in a year of revenue. So yeah, this is that's all from my end. And yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah, so that actually brings us to the end with only 5 minutes to spare, but I hope this has been really valuable for you guys. It is a high-level introduction into some seriously meaty, marketing content and topics. But yes, we want to share the deck, and obviously you'll have our LinkedIn profiles, and we would really welcome you guys to connect as well. Maybe back over to Lloyd, because I think my video is causing the problem.
No, thank you, Tammie, and thank you, Joey. I know I've got a hell of a lot over this out of this hour, and we'll be going back and having a look at all those resources. So to all the participants, I'll send out a bit of a thank you email with that deck and a recording as soon as I can. And we look forward to continuing that conversation. I'm sure Tammie and Joey are more than happy to continue that conversation as needed. So a massive thank you to Tammie and Joey and the team at WebProfits for giving us their time today. It's been enlightening, and a big thank you to everyone for tuning in. I think we might wrap it up there, unless there's one quick question we can answer in the time we have left. But I'm always more than happy to continue the conversation on our Generator Slack channels as well. So we might wrap it up. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you at another event shortly and connect again.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks again, guys. Enjoy your Friday.